Bueno, muy buenos días a todos. El principio de esta presentación iba a tener una componente un poco
Good morning, everybody. Well, first I was going to deliver perhaps heavier and more technical presentation because I was going to deliver the presentation with Juan because of causes that we are all acquainted with. It's not going to be the case. So I am going to just try and deliver a general perspective for those who are not really that familiar with this type of tests so that you can get a flavor of what we do as a private company and what we find in our day-to-day work.
Eso es lo que quiero ver un poquito son los métodos con los que usualmente
So I will talk to you about the test methods that we normally work with, the pros and cons of the different methods, and I will talk about the friction pendulum with a greater focus so that I can share with you the way we've managed with the changes that have come with this test method and our future vision. Tribometers. Well, this is a way that when it's dragged can give us a friction coefficient. So this type of equipment is very convenient because it can be transported, it's easy to use, and the reproducibility and repeatability is very adequate as long as we work in favorable conditions, because at a pool you may find a lot of different types of pavements or floorings with high profiles and so on. And if you work on those type of pavements, perhaps the advantages that come with tribometers cannot be really enjoyed. And for instance, we also have the ramp test with the barefoot test and the footwear test. For instance, for pools, this test can be performed, but we see that there's a very important component in this type of test, which is how the operator or the technician begins performing the test and ends up performing the test. I mean, it's not the same to have the technician perform the test early in the morning and do it for a week. And if you compare that with the performance of a technician that has had 20-year experience in conducting this type of tests. And this is a very important component that can lead to different results in this test. But it does allow us to work with high profiles and different types of shapes. And this, in a way, limits us to in-lab tests. And if you cannot perform the test on site, you are not just being able to test the pavement as such, but you're also losing sight of the whole context that surrounded the fall, because you would just be analyzing the pavement to give it a pass or a fail, without really factoring in the rest of components that were important in the context of the fall. And as a private company, we are not just trying to focus on performing the test, but also on the expert assessment of that fall. We try and deliver that expert assessment, and of course, we want to support architects and experts so that they can draw their conclusions on an adequate foundation. So this is why the test that we most frequently use is the friction pendulum, precisely because it can be transported, and also the price of the test is more affordable than the RAM test, which is something that makes it more accessible to the general public. For instance, an elderly person who is receiving a subsidy, if they just fall, they cannot afford to pay an expert, they cannot afford to pay a test and everything that they will have to pay for to place a claim against the town hall or the owner of a building to prove the lack of safety measures. And of course, the range of measurement. This is very important too, because we've seen that there's been great advancements in terms of regulations, and now we can measure the range that applies to that pavement where the person has suffered the fall. And the pendulum has suffered a very positive evolution in the past few years. It lacks international acknowledgement, but in some countries, such as, for instance, Australia, as was explained by one of our colleagues yesterday, they talked to us about the evolution of the on the calculation of uncertainty of the pendulum. This is very important, and it's also very important how savvy or how knowledgeable the user is. There is a series of components that have, of course, been supportive of us to include this as our reference test method, because our customers, of course, require that we have the necessary aspects to place trust on the test method. And the things that happened before and after have helped us focus on the importance of this method, and therefore deviate from other methods to focus on this one. And in case there's someone from ANAC, we just want to say that there is a very important improvement, which was calibration. This was a giant leap, and also the status of the equipment following the requirements in the standard, and the test or the essay as such, following the necessary quality controls. And that is all I wanted to share. Thank you very much.